Yo, 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 yo. What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
You are, because you're back from
am.
vacation.
Yeah.
You went on vacation. But before we talk about that, I need to get normal.
I need to get normal.
So let's smoke.
All right.
We are smoking Florida peaches that was grown by our friend Big Earl. Thank you again, Big Earl. We love you.
Thank you, Big Earl.
Every strain you've delivered has been fantastic. This Florida Peaches is lovely. Don't have much information on it, but I will tell you this. It is a very nice, clean, good smoke, nice, mellow high with a little uplift in the thinking, but very body feeling and just relaxing, but can hold a good conversation, can talk well on it, can feel absolutely phenomenal. It's terpy as hell. Got a very nice smell. It smells like a Florida beach. It is just fantastic. So great job, Big Earl. I really appreciate the strains you've been delivering, and it's been phenomenal. So I really enjoy it. Mrs. Weedman going for number 2. 3. Mrs. Weedman going number 3.
Would you like some?
Of course. I'm hogging the steamroller. So while I smoke this, Mrs. Weedman is going to talk a little bit about her trip and what she discovered down in the Keys. She went to Islamorada, Florida, and had a blast with her sisters. So I smoked. Tell them about your trip, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, I got to go on a fun girls trip with some of my sisters, and we traveled down to the Florida Keys and did a day trip down to Key West. So for anyone that doesn't know, the Florida Keys are in its entirety about 160 miles long of just a chain of islands. So we stayed in Key Largo, which is the northernmost. It's just below Miami. And then we stayed in Islamorada. That's at like mile marker 80. And we did a day trip down to Key West, which is mile marker 0. And my favorite is Islamorada, although I really have come to really, really appreciate Key West.
Key West is great.
It's pretty cool. So it was what I liked. But that's not even what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is in Key West, it's a tourist destination, just like most of the other Keys, but especially Key West, because cruise ships come in there. And there's also a Coast Guard base, and there's also a naval base. But the cruise ships bring in a lot of people on top of the tourists that just travel there other ways. Long story short, Duval Street is about 2 miles long, and it's just shop, 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 bar, bar, bar,
You
shop,
like
shop, shop.
shops.
But they advertise all over weed, 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 weed. And it says all over in big words, real weed, THC, weed, bud, flower. Like THC is everywhere. But here's the thing. It's not legal in Florida. So I'm like, I just need to converse with somebody in one of these shops.
It's not recreational.
I need to see. Yeah, it's not recreational. It's medicinal only. So you're not going to be selling to tourists because they wouldn't have their Florida medical card, right? So I'm like, I just need to get in here and I need to get my head around what they're doing here. Because essentially it's a head shop, right? Selling hemp-based THC. So the guy's behind the counter and he's got, his flowy hair and he keeps petting his hair while he's talking to me and being very Fabio-ish. He was cute. But I'm like, okay, talk to me. And I was very straightforward. I'm like, look, I'm from out of state. I have my medical caregiver card. We home grow. Just talk to me. I was like, I don't really understand what's going on here. I'm like, what are you selling? He's like, we're selling weed. Well, like he just was so perplexed. We're selling weed. And I'm like, but you're not. I said, is it cannabis from the cannabis plant? Is it THC from a cannabis plant? Or is it THC from a hemp plant? He had no idea what I was even talking about. He's like, it's THC. I'm like, but it's different. I said, so if all of this THC in your product is coming from hemp, you have to use a shit ton of plant to get an edible, right? To get 10 milligrams, because legal hemp is 0.3%. So to get a full 10% potency in an edible, you'd need a lot of plant. So he's like, well, this is 500 milligrams. I'm like, 500 milligrams? I was just mind blown. Like 500, you have 5, like, talk to me. Like, what's in your case? he's like, yeah, 500 milligrams. And it was this long tube. It probably had, 30 gummies in there. They were all sweaty. They weren't even like, the sugar was all like melted on them. They didn't even look pretty. But I was like, but can I just buy like a few pieces? And he's like, no, that the jar next to it was the smallest. It had probably 20 in it. And I asked how much it was. It was like $80, but it was 500 milligrams of THC in this is not a dispensary. This is just a head shop.
Right.
But they're not selling anything head shop wise other than all of this THC that comes from hemp derived THC. And the guy didn't really know that. I think he thought I was completely nuts, quite honestly. He was looking at me like, why are you asking me these questions? What are you doing? Maybe he thought I was like a narc or something.
Right.
Because I was asking too many questions. So then I was like, okay, do you have like a joint? I really wanted a bud. I wanted a bud for $4.20. Like, do you have any flour? He's like, well, we just have.
Well, you just make sure everybody knows you didn't go to Florida dry.
I smuggled in some things, but I
Mr.
had to,
Weedman made sure you had plenty.
But I had rations. I wanted like a day of abundance. I wanted $4.20 to be more than my ration for the day. I had like a joint for each day. I had edibles for daytime. I had edibles for nighttime. But I just wanted some more flour. And so he points to me in the case this a pre-roll. So it was a full-size pre-roll, and it was rolled in kief. I'm like, all right, I'm familiar with that. I'm like, how much? It was $50 for the joint.
What?
I'm like, with tax? He's like, no, that's just the joint. I was like, no fucking way, buddy. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stick to my stash. I'm good. And I walked out of the store. The whole experience was just so bizarre. This was literally just a head shop, but the way that they advertise weed is more pronounced than even we live in a legal state. We're in a recreational and medical legal state, Illinois. And we do not have cannabis leaves in store windows. We do not have THC come in. We do not have signs, big written signs bigger than my body that say real weed, come inside. We can't even do that here. So I was just blown away at how, because it goes back to what we try to do here. We try to stump the stigma, right? They're trying to stump the stigma. They're trying to make money. They're trying to do their thing. But in the bigger picture of things, they're misinforming the public.
Right.
They're greatly misinforming the public and
actually they don't know.
Devaluing what they're selling.
Yeah, they don't even know what they're talking about.
They don't even know what they're talking about.
They're just saying it's weed, it's THC,
Right.
it's 500 milligrams. There, take it.
They don't know the difference. They're not educated about. They're not bud tenders. These guys are just. This is one shop.
Right.
There were probably 50 shops down there. I went in one. So I hate to stereotype based on this one experience and this one person in that experience.
Fabio, we'll call him.
We'll call him Fabio. He was flowy. He was all tan and flowy. It wasn't long hair. It was just like to his shoulders. But I think as I made him nervous, he just kept touching his hair. It was cute. So long story short is if you go to Florida, you can get weed, but it's not, I don't know. I still get kind of confused
Everybody
about
does.
like,
It's hemp derived.
it's
THC.
hemp derived. It's
Right.
still THC,
Right.
but you have to use a much more plant to get to it.
and
You don't
here's-
have all the terpenes and the cannabinoids.
I mean, you
in
do, but
some
you
ways,
don't.
but
you don't. It's just a
Right.
different plant.
Different
Still not bad. I mean,
Right.
it's probably got a nice CBD content in there too on the flower end of it too. But here's the thing: a lot of states are trying to ban that, and a lot of states are now banning Delta 8 all over the place. Arkansas, I think, was just another one. So
Another state they like accidentally approved
Louisiana.
they approved like 0.8% THC.
Yeah, and
They're like we just
from hemp.
accidentally
Yeah.
approved THC for sale, legal cannabis.
So it's just like here's my feeling on that. I think everybody should be able to sell it. I mean, in a way that is legal, in a way that it's safe, in a way that you have to be knowledgeable, whether it's coming from hemp or it's coming from cannabis, the cannabis marijuana plant. It needs to be not just it's 500 milligrams for $80. That's I've always said the snake oil salesman because they don't know what they're trying to get you to buy something that you don't even know what you're buying. Just because it says THC on it, you don't even know. Does he know where he's getting it from? Does he know where it's coming from? Is it real? I mean, is it synthetic too? You could be
Right.
buying synthetic THC.
There's no regulation there.
And a lot of the states that are banning Delta 8 which a lot of people are finding very helpful and useful. They're not banning the THC; they're banning Delta 8 THC.
Well, he's like, we even have Delta 9.
Well, that's
like,
the same. It's
I
Delta
know,
9 and
I know.
THC is the same
Right.
thing. And that's just they're just
But
very uneducated.
Right. And then continuing that pattern of having the next consumer be uneducated. So you're selling somebody something. We've had so many people ask us like, "Hey, I went over here to this shop and I got some CBD product and I've got this ache or this pain or I've got this problem and I'm hoping this is going to help me. What do you think?" And it's like people are just misinformed on quality, on the source of where the product comes from.
Huge.
And really state regulation. As much as we want our freedoms and we want to be able to do the things that we want to do, regulation in some regard is good
To protect yourself.
to protect us. So you know that you're getting, number one, you're spending your money on it, and they're taking a shit ton of your money to get legal cannabis in any state. Some states more than others with taxes, right? If you're going to be spending that kind of money, don't you want to be educated about what you're spending it on? There's one way to look at
Right.
it. Okay, and then it's your body. If you're going to take something medicinally, or if you're just going to take it for pleasure and enjoyment, don't you want to know what you're putting in your body?
Yeah.
So get educated. And so that they're just kind of doing a one step forward, two steps backward there, because they're just handing the stuff to customers that will willingly pay. Because when you're on vacation, your wallet is a little looser, right? So now you just walk down Duval and you're like, "Oh, give me some edibles," and they're like, "Here, you have to have 500 milligrams." And you've spent $200,
And that person might
and you're getting garbage.
and that person might have
Potentially.
ate 100
Yeah,
milligrams
yeah.
and been fucked up.
Yeah. And
too.
you're not getting, it's not a dispensary. It's a head shop.
Right.
You're not getting, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, I
is
mean,
what it
I've
comes
been to a
down
couple really good head shops that in Chicago and in other states too that are really knowledgeable
Yeah.
that sell CBD and sell
And it-
Delta 8.
Yes, I want to, like, please.
Yes,
I'm
this
not
is just-
harping on head shops.
right.
I'm not harping on
We
the
love
whole
head
big
shops.
picture of Florida, whatever this space is, head shop space. I'm just on this one experience. It was kind of disheartening.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just you don't know what you don't know, and you're walking into a shop hoping they know what they're talking about. Yeah, here's 500 milligrams. Take it. I got to say, the Florida peach kicked in, and I'm really high.
I'm really high.
Good job, Big Earl.
This is one gives me the sniffles.
It does give you the.
I don't know. I need
sniffs.
to read into that. Like, why does some weed give you the sniffles?
Some weed makes me shake and gets the chills, lowers
Yeah.
my blood pressure.
Yeah.
And I get the shakes. I haven't gotten the shakes in a while. I haven't had a strain hit me like that in a long time. But we want to thank everybody who joined our 420 show, Mr.
We
G.
had so much fun.
Oh, Mr. G, the Profesh peeps, and Maddie and
Shayna.
Shayna, and we'll get Nicole on next time. And so yeah, we want to thank them, and it was a lot of fun. It was a different type of show. So if you were listening and you wanted news, you weren't going to get it this time. It was just our normal 420 episode. We try to have as much fun as possible. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and thank you everybody who came and joined us at our new studio. It was awesome. Succession.
Yeah.
Oh,
Intense.
we watched back-to-back episodes because you were out of town. So, and oh my. What a turnaround!
Yeah.
So if you're watching
If you're
Succession,
watching, we cannot be spoilers.
I won't spoil it, but it was like intense.
I'll say setting, as
Oh.
always, spot on.
Yeah. Oh,
Clothing, super appropriate. My style, no, but they just have it dialed in, man.
Nice
They-
coats.
They, whoever is the set, the location, whatever that job is when you have to go out and scout locations for movies and TV shows. What a cool job, number one. Oh, sorry, I have to travel around the world looking for a great place for this movie to be
Right.
filmed. Whoever has that job for Succession is doing a freaking top-notch job.
unbelievable! And
They
the
have
actors,
the cool. They always are flying places to meet with people to negotiate these deals, and they're going to these. Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
They were in.
the
Where were they? Norway this time. Yeah.
Sweden? No, Norway. Yeah,
Norway.
they were in Norway, and that mountain view
Huh.
was. But I mean, it's just amazing that the actors get to experience it.
I know,
too.
right?
And get to just act on set and enjoy it. And I know it's probably long hours, but still, even in your break time where you're sitting on top of that
Oh,
mountain.
boo-hoo.
Yeah, oh, boo-hoo, I'm crying
Should I
for
be
you.
crying for them?
That scene with the river coming down
Oh my
through
gosh!
that hotel.
They were like in this kind of eco, very trendy. Like they
Yeah.
were actually mocking it. The characters in the show were mocking the place where this whole meeting was taking place, but they were out in the middle of like a forest with this like rapidly moving river that was under the suspended hotel that like this hotel
Kind of went out
this
over the
room.
river.
Yeah.
With a big glass.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And
It was like a container house.
Yeah. Oh, so dope.
With cantilevered like rooms.
Kendall and
God.
Roman were making fun of it because I got mud on my sneakers. Yo, dude.
Yeah, I've been here for 5 minutes and I've already got mud on my shoe.
And this
yourself.
room is smaller than my bathroom, and it's just like, come on, man, enjoy that scene.
Oh, what do you say? This is where the bears take a shit.
Yeah, yeah. The bears
That's
take a
what they
bigger
were
shit
like-
in the
yeah.
woods, than this bathroom I have. It's just that point right there, they're snooty tooty, and you don't like them then because that somebody like myself who's never got a chance to
like,
experience
I'll go-
that.
I'll go there.
I'll go there in a second, but really good. I mean,
But the storyline.
Oh my gosh, good stuff. So
Intense.
Yep. All right, you ready to get the show started, Mrs. Weedman?
let's do it.
I'm pretty baked, but
I am too.
let's
We'll
get
keep
rolling
each other on
there
track.
There we go. Kief. I don't talk a lot about kief much, but I do like cooking with it. I do love it when it's rolled on a joint. It's great for cooking, though, to add to your butter. Oh, my gosh, does it give it an effect that'll knock your socks off. So what is kief for all you newbies out there? For those interested in learning about kief, let's go over the basics. Kief is a form of cannabis concentrate that comes from the trichomes of the cannabis plant. Trichomes are the small, tiny hair-like structures on the surface and the leaves of the buds that produce THC and other cannabinoids. What exactly is it, and how do you make it, or how can you use it? Kief is a form of hash. The potent concentrate is a form of hash. Sometimes it's called pollen or resin. However, kief is the most common term, having lots of the same benefits as other forms of hash, including heightened sensations, pain relief, and overall well sense of being. It's also an excellent option for people who have been using cannabis for a while and want to try something new. How can you make it? The best way to make kief is by sifting cannabis through your fine mesh screen, leaving you the powdery substance that is pure trichomes itself. So when you have a grinder and you're grinding your weed, the buds drop down to the next level, but then there's kief also that falls to the screen. So what you got to do is to take a little scraper, a little brush they give you with them, and go over the screen. It falls into the fourth compartment, and then as it builds up, what you do is take the little scraper, and you can just take a little bit at a time and sprinkle it over your bud in your bowl. You could put it in your bong bowl. You could put it in your regular bowl. You can sprinkle it over a joint. There's many different ways you could try it. You can also roll a joint, put a little oil, and we're talking about like cannabis oil, and then dip the joint in that, and then roll it through the kief or hash or whatever you want, or dabs. You can roll it in that too, wax, whatever, and you can use it that way too. Oh boy, get ready for that kind of a high. Do not, if you're a new experienced person, do not do that right away. Work your way up to that point. You could smoke it in a joint or a bowl, some on top of a joint, or even roll it, or sprinkle some on with some of your favorite edibles and for added kick. This is a great way to add extra flavor and potency to your cannabis without having to use much of it. An affordable option, too. It's also more affordable than other forms of hash. If you're trying to save some money, it might be worth considering this as an option instead of buying from a dispensary. If you decide to try kief, it's essential to start with the small amount and gradually increase over time. Doing this will determine your tolerance and avoid adverse side effects. I'm going to talk more about kief on the next episode, like how to smoke it and some different ways, but I think it's something that I've always enjoyed, but you never really think about it until you check your bottom of your grinder and you're like, oh shit, I got a lot. Because you take some time. I mean, some people gather kief really quick. Some people might take a year to fill that bottom tray up in your grinder. I don't get much kief anymore because I cut my weed now and I don't really grind a lot of it. So I cut mine with a scissor and chop it up pretty fine with a scissor. So most of that goes in my bowl to smoke. But when I'm rolling a ton of joints, when we're going out, I'm rolling like 5 or 10 joints. I use my grinder. And so I am collecting kief here and there. So just remember, though, it is really nice. It's great to cook with when you get enough of it. Put it in your butter. Oh, man. It excels the high pretty quickly. And you get really, really good. So now, smoking weed safely. Mrs. Weedman, tell us about it.
Well, before I go into that, I'm just going to do a little shout out to the 8 decades 4-part grinder that has a
Yes.
kief catch.
Also, our 1-year anniversary today.
Whoop. 1 year ago, we launched our online
Yes.
store.
Congratulations, Mrs. Weedman.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been fun. Thank you for all the support from everybody out there. All right. So, what are the safest ways to smoke weed? Well, there's no definitive answer to that question, but there are safer alternatives to consider. Cannabis enthusiasts and newbies can enjoy some green from traditional methods such as smoking joints or blunts to modern approaches like vaporizing and dabbing. But with so many options, finding the best way to smoke weed can be challenging. So let's dive into the different ways to smoke, including some that are safer alternatives and some smokeless options. When it comes to the safest and healthiest way to consume weed, there are 4 good options to consider. Glass pipes and bongs with filters are standard smoking devices available in the cannabis market. These smoking tools can help reduce the harmful particles you inhale for a cleaner and healthier smoking sesh. And let's not forget about joints and blunts. While they may not be as technologically advanced as bongs, some smoking joints and blunts can also be healthier if you stick to shallow, short inhales and indulge less frequently. Every canna lover is different, though, and the healthiest way for you may not be the most beneficial way for someone else. So, we have narrowed this down for you, and here we are, the healthiest ways to consume weed. 1. Vaporizing. Vaping. Vaporizing involves heating cannabis to a temperature that releases its active ingredients in the form of vapor rather than smoke.
Like a volcano. Oh, so good.
It's considered the safest way to smoke weed as it avoids combustion and reduces exposure to toxic substances such as tar and carbon monoxide. Vaporizing works on precise temperature control, leading to a more flavorful experience also. There are devices that efficiently modulate temperature to your needs, like the Puffco, the Zenco, the Volcano.
Yeah, one more bag, baby, on those volcanoes. They're the best. We need to buy one and try
We do.
it. I don't think you've ever tried
I
a
did.
volcano. You did?
The loose bag.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, the best.
Fun. Number 2, glass pipes or bongs with filters. Glass pipes or bongs with filters help remove harmful particles from smoke, making it the smoothest and cleanest way to smoke weed. Bongs, in particular, are preferred for their ability to cool and filter smoke through water. Glass pipes and bongs are convenient, portable, and affordable. Many cannabis consumers favor the smoking method for its ease of use and ability to enhance the smoking experience. Number 3, smoking joints or blunts with filters. And having the filter is key. Smoking without a filter can increase exposure to harmful substances. Filters are often made from smoking paper, hemp paper, or bamboo. They trap particles and prevent them from entering your lungs. Using shallow and short inhales when smoking joints or blunts with filters can help reduce exposures to unnecessary toxins. And we have dabbing. Dabbing is the inhalation of extracts, oils, or concentrates, and it involves heating a small amount of the dab on a hot surface and inhaling the vapor. Dabbing offers a more substantial and immediate experience than traditional smoking methods and is considered less harmful as it reduces exposure to toxic materials. However, using a safe and controlled method for heating the oil is essential, as the high temperatures used in dabbing can create potentially harmful byproducts. And that's been my resistance to dabbing, is that I just don't know the whole heating thing. The torching freaks me out. It's just too intense. And then you're high, and I'm like, oh my God, our house is going to go on fire. And then, but we were at Brunch of Stoners, and they had their bongs heated with this little element that gets clipped onto the bong,
Yep.
yeah.
It's got a heating
and
coil.
then it's got a heating coil, and you just set the temperature, and it maintains the temperature that you need. So if you're going to get serious about dabbing, I think gearing up with the right tools would be key.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But use filters. Filters trap your ash, tar, and other harmful particles, making your smoke safer. Avoid deep inhalation. Use clean pipes and bongs. Dirty bongs are just bad.
Gross.
It's just so bad.
At least
so much
change
bacteria,
change the
mold,
water too,
yuck.
peeps.
Yes.
Ugh.
This is key. Avoid combustion. So the combustion is bad. So vaporizing, dabbing can avoid that. Hydrate before and after smoking because smoking can cause dehydration.
Drink a lot of water.
Yep. And are joints healthier than blunts? Well, they're both smoking, right? They both involve inhaling smoke from burning cannabis. However, there are a few differences between the two that can make one a healthier option over the other. Joints are typically made with rolling paper made of rice or hemp, both of which are considered safe options, more so than tobacco-based blunt wraps. Blunts are typically larger and contain more cannabis than joints, which means you're inhaling more smoke. It can eventually lead to higher exposure. So, moderation is key. The way you smoke, regardless of the type of joint or blunt, can also impact the healthiness of your smoking experience. Again, shallow, short breaths can reduce the amount of inhaled harmful substances, while deep inhales can increase exposure to harmful particles. So make smarter choices when you're smoking weed. We get that you want to know the safest way to smoke, but do you know how often you should smoke? Well, when it comes to smoking weed, moderation is key. Sure, it's tempting to light it up every chance you get, but overuse can lead to not so fun side effects like decreasing lung function, memory problems, and reduced coordination. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but it largely depends on your personal preferences and needs. Some of you may smoke daily, while others may only light up occasionally, and that's cool. The important thing is to listen to your body and be mindful of how you consume. There isn't one absolute safest way to consume, so consider limiting your smoking frequency and enjoy other alternatives such as edibles or cannabis-infused drinks for a satisfying experience. And if you prefer joints or blunts or smoking with pipes and bongs, the key is to exercise restraint and switch things up every once in a while. If you're a daily smoker or just an occasional toker, the most important thing is to enjoy your weed safely and responsibly.
Good article.
Yeah.
Smoke safe. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. It's the truth.
Yeah.
He does. He created that line for me. Do dispensaries scan your ID, and why do they do that? And do they track how much you buy, and is it all regulated? They do scan your ID when you go in. They check your ID first and foremost to see if you're 21 and over and you have your legal identification in the state that you're in. That's first and foremost. So they have to scan. Just like when you go to a bar, they look at your ID or scan it to see if you're legal age. So cannabis dispensaries need to scan your ID for several reasons. First, they need to track sales, inventory, customers, and employees' data. They want to track your data to see what you're buying so they can bring more of that weed in. So if a customer buys a product regularly and doesn't want it anymore, it's the best interest of the dispensary not to carry it or find something else that they like. So they're trying to figure out what kind of products that you're buying. Companies track this information and learn what customers will buy regularly, as well as certain products are popular and what are not popular, as well, and to manage their inventory more effectively, ensure they don't run out of inventory unexpectedly. How does it work? The ID scanner, your local dispensary, will read the data on your driver's license and other identifications. It clearly displays your age, allowing the person scanning you to know if you're 21 or not. Storing and sharing private data to dispensaries track you, though your personal information isn't entered into a federal database. Not every visit to every cannabis dispensary is necessarily an exercise of privacy. Cannabis dispensaries vary in their openness about the information they gather. Some are open, while others keep their business practices a secret. Some cannabis stores suggest you provide your private data as part of their loyalty program. Others ask that your contact information in case you have any questions. If you're wondering whether or not your private information is being collected, ask the bud tender before you sign anything. That way, they can make sure it's safe for you to give them the information they need. Legal side of the issue, do dispensaries share information with the government? The answer is no. No state cannabis control board requires the dispensaries to share customer private information. In fact, most dispensaries have strict policies in place to protect their customers' privacy, including only keeping names and addresses for as long as is necessary to fulfill orders. Additionally, many dispensaries are located in states that do not require them to collect any personal information from their customers at all. But there are laws regulating the collection, storage, and the use of personal information that vary from state to state. In some states, perfectly legal to collect and store personal information in cannabis shops. However, despite state regulations and the California Consumer Protection Act, some recreational cannabis dispensaries in California have been collecting customers' personal information. CCPA is a state law that governs how businesses are allowed to handle the personal information of California residents. But do all the California cannabis dispensaries track purchases? No, it's just a matter of the particular dispensary where you make the purchase. In Colorado, for instance, customers are not asked to provide any information other than a driver's license or ID when purchasing cannabis or alcohol. In Massachusetts, all cannabis retailers must follow state guidelines, including those related to privacy and data protection. The state's Cannabis Commission has also set up procedures for handling customers' data. For example, retailers must keep track of all purchases made by the customer so they can appropriately be billed. Also, too, they have to take your information down too, because don't forget, you only get in a lot of states you get an allotment of how much you can buy, so they have to track your allotment too. Conclusion: many states have laws that require dispensaries to verify customers' ages before providing them with cannabis. Some states also limit how much cannabis customers can buy in a day or a month. ID scanning allows dispensaries to comply with these regulations while making the process smoother for everyone involved. For example, when you go into a dispensary, you don't have to worry about remembering your driver's license number or finding it in your wallet. An employee scans your ID and immediately knows who you are, whether or not they can sell you cannabis. This makes things much faster and easier for both customers and employees. Yes, and I don't know every state laws, unfortunately. I do a lot of reading on them, but I don't remember every single one of them. But I know here in Illinois, I've asked, and maybe some bartender might tell me differently. They can DM me. But I do know that state does track how much you buy because it has to be limited through the states. That they have to do. I know here in Illinois because I'm a med patient, and they would tell me when I get my receipt, this is how much you have left in your allotment. But the state has to know that. Right? That's what I think. So I could be wrong. But, you got to show your ID when you want to buy weed. Just like you got to buy when you buy alcohol. You get carded at liquor stores, you get carded at grocery stores, you get carded at restaurants and bars. So you're going to get carded.
When in Illinois, you have to pick, if you're going medical, when it started, you had to pick your dispensary.
You can only go to one.
And then they registered all of your information in their system, and I would imagine they just tracked you that way. But now that you can go to any dispensary, maybe it's even more important
you're in the database of how much you bought, and that's got to be regulated by the state.
It's got to be, yeah.
So they are collecting some data.
And I'm sure they're using a lot of that data. Like we've read reports, and like last episode, we read a report about data tracking.
Right.
And Maddie, from Made Content, she does data tracking, data analysis.
She's tracking what everyone is doing in the state for cannabis.
So to some degree, I can understand the concern. There's people that just don't want the government knowing what they do. And then there's some question of why do they need to know?
Right.
Like if it's legal, why does anyone need to be tracking?
You get carded by alcohol, but they don't monitor how much alcohol you buy in a month.
Right. And they're not scanning your card into the system.
Right. They're just looking at your ID.
They plug in a birth date.
Right. Some register systems make you do the back of the license just to make sure you're 21. And it goes into their register system to check. That's some stores. But but look at it this way. You can buy as much alcohol as you want. To the point where you drink yourself to death, right?
Is there a limit on recreational cannabis? No.
Yes.
There is?
Oh, yeah. I think I can't remember. I can't remember the state of Illinois because I'm not reckoning, but I think it's like out of state. There's a difference too. I know there's a difference for in-state residents that are recreational, and then there's out of state limits too. I just don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I had to look it up. So. How do you sober up from weed when you get too high? We've talked about this if you were like way too high, but this was a little bit some more information. So, and if you haven't heard the prior episodes that we talked about this, some new information for everybody. So tell us about it, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, this is interesting. In the past, we've talked about different foods and things that you could do to get yourself down when you're too high. And I've had a couple too high nights recently. I've been challenging my tolerance a little bit. And it's not a good feeling when you get too high. But thankfully, once you understand how you feel when you're high and how you feel when you're too high, you just know that it's going to pass. It's going to be 20 minutes of like just feeling really kind of shitty. And then maybe an hour if you're not a regular consumer.
I just heard in the news there was 4 or 5 high school students that ate a shit ton of edibles and like had to get taken to the emergency room. And I think the news was overplaying it, like they were in critical condition and shit like that, of course. So the news was trying to make it out that way because they were high school students and it's weed. They probably bought it off of somebody who got it from a dispensary, or someone made a bunch of edibles with somebody's weed and they bought it off of somebody. Who knows? But anyway, they made it sound like these kids were dying. I was just like, I want to go shake this newscaster and be like, yo,
Stop.
You're fucking up.
Well, on the other hand, on the housewives shows on Bravo channel, they were just smoking joints, all the husbands.
Yeah, Mrs. Weedman watches that
I
station.
thought that was great. I love that. I love trash TV. I'm just hooked on trash TV.
I can't make fun
it's
because
good background
I
noise.
don't ever make fun of it because I watch anime. So
Yeah, so hey,
yeah, I don't make fun of it ever. But it is pretty trashy.
it is trash TV. Give me more. Give me more. All right. How to sober up when you get too high. Getting high in general is very pleasant. I mean, why else do you think people do it? But there's a fine line between the giddy euphoria from a good high and the head-spinning, paranoid, nauseating anxiety that comes from a high when you've consumed too much. Maybe you misjudged your tolerance or got impatient and ate too many edibles while waiting for them to kick in. Whatever the reason, being too high can be a nightmare, and you may find yourself searching for a way to feel normal. So the next time you're not enjoying your high and you want to sober up from weed, follow these tips for coming down faster and safely. Don't panic.
Don't panic.
I'm dying. Well, THC can cause feelings of paranoia, an elevated heart rate, and extreme anxiety. It's unlikely to cause you any actual physical harm. There's no real evidence linking any adult cannabis use to death from overdose. And while it can be difficult to reason this in that moment, you'll be better off telling yourself that your high will eventually end and that you're going to be okay, and just try to relax. Are you feeling anxious? Don't panic, says Khalid Al-Nasir, co-founder of Raw Garden. Try taking some slow, deep breaths. You can also get some pillows and a blanket to make yourself cozy and more relaxed. Distract yourself. One of the best things you can do when you want to not feel high anymore is to stop thinking about how high you are. This is, of course, easier said than done, so it helps to distract yourself with something you enjoy. Find something that takes you to a happy place, a silly movie, a cartoon from when you were a kid. Just keep it light, Al-Nasir says. If you can handle it, get outside and take a walk. Refocusing or distracting your mind is a great way to regain control of how you are feeling.
Yeah, if you walk outside and it's cold,
Yeah,
chilly
that
out,
feels
like
great.
40s, and you're too high,
Yeah.
you are popped right
Yeah.
back into focus.
Yep. Drink water. Drinking water won't flush the weed out of your system, and it won't necessarily sober you up, but it's important to stay hydrated while you're combating the symptoms, like dry mouth and headache, that also may be adding to your unpleasant experience. You should also avoid drinking caffeine or alcohol,
stay
as these
away.
may exasperate the symptoms that you're trying to downplay. Eat something. Since weed often gives people the munchies anyway, this should be an easy one. Eating a meal, particularly a very fatty one, can help the THC in your bloodstream metabolize more quickly. Eat something you're going to enjoy, says Al-Nasir. The experience might be more amazing than you expect and give you something else to focus on other than being high. Additionally, a full belly usually sobers up most cannabis users
That's why I always say,
and can make you sleepy.
every time I say this, when someone's like, "Oh, we should eat something," I'm like, "No, I don't want to eat." They're like,
Yeah.
"Why? Don't you get?" I know, because I have to start all over again, and I'm at a good point in my high, and my body's feeling great. I'm relaxed, and I'm like, I don't want to eat right now because I know once I eat, I'm gonna have to go start all over again. It drives me nuts.
I just eat a lot.
And you start all over again.
And I start all over again.
That's your enjoyment. To me, it's like I'm at a good spot. I'm perfectly in my right space. I consumed enough. And now you want me to eat and get
When
full?
you're high and you find the snack that is like hitting the spot, that's a pretty sweet situation to be in. Yeah. All right. Sleep it off. Perhaps the best way to get rid of a high is to sleep through it. And when you wake up, the worst of it will be over. Fortunately, cannabis-infused napping can lead to deep restorative rest, and that is all we probably need, Al-Nasir says. Sleeping is one of the best ways to ride out an intense high. And chew some peppercorns. We've covered this one before. In addition to cannabinoids like THC that are responsible for weed's psychoactive effects, marijuana also contains essential oils called terpenes. These can vary by strain and affect how your weed smells and tastes. Terpenes also work synergistically with THC to affect your high as part of what's known as the entourage effect, where all of the different chemical properties of weed work together to produce your high. Cannabis itself contains over 100 terpenes, and these are also found in other foods. It's believed that different terpenes react with THC in different ways, like myrcene, also found in mangoes, allegedly extends your high if consumed, while others like pinene in pine nuts, limonene in lemons, and most notably beta-caryophyllene in black peppercorns are said to combat THC's less desirable effects and end your high sooner. That's why you sometimes hear people talk about chewing peppercorns to reduce their weed-induced anxiety. But Al Nasir isn't convinced, saying, there isn't a one-size-fits-all approach to sobering up from weed. I don't want to suggest the science isn't there, but I wouldn't want to chew on peppercorns or eat black pepper while high. I wouldn't either. I believe there are far more pleasant ways to control and de-escalate the high, but whatever works and gets you where you need to be is just a win.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was a good one. Good education.
Whew, I'm out of breath on that one.
And you're going to smoke more?
I'm going to smoke more.
This is good news. Delaware becomes the 22nd state to legalize recreational marijuana, despite the governor's opposition and despite the party he belongs to and fighting with them. But Delaware is the 22nd state to legalize recreational cannabis, marking a milestone. And it's big. It's huge. Huge. It's great.
Huge.
Another state. Good job, Delaware. Michigan pricing keeps on going down, but their February sales were over $200 million. In March, it was over $200 million if you included med. But the prices keep on going down. But it's just volume upon oversupply and overabundance, cheaper prices. But people are coming all over the Midwest to go to Michigan to buy their cannabis now. Their weed, their flower, their bud, their edibles, their tinctures, their RSOs, their concentrates. Everybody's going to Michigan. The stuff's phenomenal there too, by the way. So, but is so many people growing in Michigan, and there's so many stores. So of course, price compression was going to happen, and it is happening. And you can get an ounce of weed for. Someone told me they got an ounce of weed for $45.
Dang.
I don't know how good it was. They said from what they told me, they said the weed was it was decent, but I'm just saying. I mean, we were just seeing $75 ounces. So, I mean, they keep on issuing new licenses. There's, it's just growing, but they feel like it's going to stabilize eventually. And, but you can't argue with the price. There's still, here's what I'm going to say. For anybody that really thought that you were going to get into the cannabis industry with competitive businesses across the state and you're going to be a multi-millionaire making $100 million a year, you fooled yourself. This business is a good business that everybody can make a good living. You can make $250,000 a year for your owner of a dispensary if you do it right. If you're a cultivator, you might make $500,000 a year for owning a cultivation, but every one of your employees are making good money too, and they're happy coming to work, and they're doing their job correctly, and you're teaching them and educating them correctly, because there's still not enough people to grow in any state. So you have to keep people happy so they don't leave. Everybody can make a good living at this. I've been saying this for a long time. Do not be greedy. Do not be a fucking punk and think that you're going to be millionaires. I mean, some people might own 10, 15, 20 dispensaries. It's like a McDonald's franchise. You're at that point now. A McDonald's franchise owner for one store makes about $100,000 to $115,000 a year. Could be more now. This was back in 2010. I found that out. So if you own 10 stores, now you're making $1.5 million. Okay? So if you own 10 dispensaries and each one's bringing you in $100,000 a year, you're making $1 million, but you had to make the investment. If you're a mom and pop, like Mrs. Weedman and I, a mom and pop shop that wants just one store, that wants to just make a good living, be able to take care of your family, pay your mortgage, go on a vacation a couple times a year, enjoy your life, save for fucking retirement, and retire in the sunset and go off on your horses at 60, and you did what you had to do. Don't be a fucking greedy. Let people make a good living. Take care of their families. Leave their dispensary to their kids. That's what this business is all about. It's not about you fucking idiots, greedy suits that that only got in this business to try to be a millionaire, and you got fucked in the ass because the money's not there, and now you're pissed because you didn't deserve to be in this business anyway. So Michigan, don't cry. You're making volume. You went that route. Now let everyone make some money. That's all I got to say about that, Mrs. Weedman.
Yeah, I stayed out of your way.
This was kind of crazy. This is not the best weed. This is just the best states that best cities for the best weed cities. And Buffalo, New York was on the list. They were number 3 according to the study. Buffalo gets the bronze for the presence of green. The Queen City ranked number 3 in Cleaver's list of best weed cities in America for 2023 compared to last year. Cities were judged on a number of factors, including legality and the numbers of cannabis prescribing doctors and dispensaries. So it wasn't based on the weed. It was based on how you offer cannabis. Portland, Oregon took the top spot, and Colorado took 2, I think. But for Buffalo has 0.5 cannabis doctors and 3 dispensaries per 100,000 residents. Buffalo has had a thriving medical cannabis industry for years with prescribing doctors and 79% more than the average city. It's pretty big. The city's average dispensary rating was higher than both Denver's and Portland's at 4.6 cost. Cost was also weighed into the rankings. And Cleaver says in Buffalo, the average price of a high-quality weed is $270, while mid-quality cannabis came in at $226. I don't know, that's got to be an ounce. So it doesn't say here. So Buffalo saw a significant rise in the rankings compared to last year when it was ranked number 17. So that's pretty awesome. You never would have thought about that. Washington State could soon legalize interstate cannabis sales. Will Fed stand in the way? Interesting question. We'll keep an eye on that one because it's going to be interesting if they go. They've been trying to pass this bill and want to do it for a while. You know what? You politicians sometimes make me nuts. Cory Booker calls cannabis a dangerous drug and says he's frustrated with non-diverse industry. But you want it legalized. You're trying to legalize it. And then you're telling people that it's a dangerous drug. Well, one, it's not a drug. It's a plant. Comes from the earth, and I will argue this with anybody that wants to argue with me about this. And I've had people say this to me, and I've watched some doctors talk about this, and some other. It's not a drug. Sorry, it's not a drug. It's not synthetically made, even though there is some synthetic shit. But if you get plant, if you think it's a drug, come talk to me. I'd love to have a conversation with you and try to change my mind about it. You'd lose. But it's just he discussed. Is this? I just don't even want to talk about him anymore. I think he's just a fake and a phony, and I'm sorry, everybody out there, if you support him. But just to say it's a dangerous drug, but then you're trying to get it legalized through the government to pass federally. Why? Because you want your pockets filled? That's just my opinion. Texas House will vote on cannabis decriminalization and expungement bills. Go do it, and I think it's this week they're doing it. So good for you. Madison, Wisconsin, Republicans are trying to put together a medical pot legalization. We'll see what happens. They just need to come across the table and do it together. Jersey, place I was born, the industry is having a tough time. The small business owner is having a tough time because the state is filled with a bunch of MSOs, except they kicked out one MSO. But they did the opposite of what some other countries and some other states have done. Jersey let the big boys come in, and it's knocking all the little people out. The mom and pop shops that deserve it, not the big MSOs. So we'll see what happened with Jersey, the place I was born. Last year, it did $228 million of legal recreational cannabis, and they got $20 million in tax revenue from it. So it's going to get bigger. There's not a ton of dispensaries there yet, but just crazy. By Bipartisan bill to legalize cannabis for military veterans reintroduced in both chambers of Congress. Good. You shouldn't even just. Oh man. North Carolina lawmakers filed recreational cannabis legalization bill. Like not even met. They filed recreational. House Bill 626 was filed by 4 Democratic members of the House of Representatives with co-sponsorship from 8 of their colleagues. If passed by the state legislature and signed into law, the bill would legalize the possession of small amounts of cannabis for adults aged 21 and older. Let's go North Carolina. I want to go to Asheville and smoke some weed. I posted this last week, but we did the 420 show, so Mrs. Weedman's going to talk about American women, and this dumbfounded me, like how much they still hide their use. So go ahead, Mrs. Weedman.
Yep. 37%, get that, 37% of American women consume cannabis. Over a third. But most of it keep it a secret from parents, children, and coworkers, the study says. A recent survey conducted by the Harris Poll on behalf of cannabis retailer MedMen Enterprises has found that more than 1/3 of American women aged 21 and above consume cannabis. The survey conducted from February 28th through March 2nd of 2023 covered 1,020 women aged 21 or more, and it also revealed that 1 in 4 women are using weed at least once a month. The survey also found that women primarily use cannabis for therapeutic reasons such as anxiety relief, better sleep, and pain relief. According to information procured exclusively, the survey also uncovered that the majority of female cannabis consumers keep their cannabis use secret from their parents, their children, and their coworkers, with 65% of them saying that there are people in their life who do not know they use weed, suggesting the stigmas around cannabis still linger. The survey also revealed that 91% of women who use cannabis purchase it legally at a dispensary. 32% of women who use cannabis spend more than $100 at the dispensary in a typical month, and 35% of purchasers prefer to shop with a female bud tender. Also, 57% of women prefer edibles as their method of consumption, followed by 43% who like flowers and pre-rolls, and 39% with vaping. Finally, the survey showed that while 27% of female cannabis users cited no concerns regarding their cannabis use, 20% said their biggest concern is drug testing. Karen Torres, Chief Product Officer at MedMen, said in an email, "As a queer woman of color working in cannabis, I strongly believe that representation matters. From our new hires to our C-suite and from our retail employees to our product mix, MedMen is prioritizing diversity and inclusion to ensure our organization reflects our customer base and the communities that we serve." And she added, "We know firsthand from our female identifying employees and customers that women are increasingly turning to cannabis for their health and wellness needs. However, it's clear that stigmas persist and inhibit us from sharing our experiences freely. Fortunately, this research confirms that cannabis use has become popular for self-care, particularly among women seeking holistic solutions to help manage pain and anxiety or to simply unwind."
That's what it's about.
Yep.
Unwind.
But I would say if I had been using cannabis when the kids were younger, I wouldn't have told anybody.
Yeah, I know.
Because you make a mistake in life and then people are like, "Oh, it's because you use the weed. It's the weed.
The weeds.
It's the weed, Mrs. Weedman. That's the problem. Don't use the weed." Because there's people like that, right?
Of course, there still is people like that. Shit. International news. Germany waters down plan to legalize cannabis after EU talks. I kind of like this because it plays towards what we here in the U.S. didn't do, and then we let big corporations come in and take over quickly. Like I just mentioned, Jersey. They're going to allow possession up to 25 grams of cannabis and cultivation of maximum of 3 plants at home, and start off with legalization would allow for commercial distribution of cannabis only under special circumstances and so-called clubs. So they're going to start off very slowly, see how this part goes, which I actually really like. You can grow, possess, go to cannabis clubs. You know, it's still medical there too, so don't forget. So it's a 2-step legalization. And I think they just want to prove to the world, especially the EU, that this can work. So instead of letting big corporations rush in, because they're going to try to if they legalize it recreational fully, they're going to slowly take it up a notch and a notch and a notch, and hopefully let people in Germany, the citizens of Germany, be able to participate in owning a dispensary, owning a cultivation, and not importing a bazillion tons of weed and not letting big corporations take it over. Hopefully they could do that. I think it'd be cool. They could prove to the world it could be done. Taiwan's cannabis trade falters as Thailand and Japan cash in. So Taiwan, this person Wu tried a few times in Taiwan where she grew up, but did not like the effects of cannabis, added anxiety around using it illegally, made the experience less enjoyable. It was only after she came into the United States in 2015 she felt safe enough to experiment, discovered the relaxing effects that cannabis can have. This was she's from, Joyce Wu is from Taipei, Taiwan. Let's see. So using cannabis, she came to this state and she felt very, very comfortable using it. Now she uses CBD on a regular, and she highly recommends it. It helps her with her anxiety and pain and stuff like that. So, but it just goes to show that, Thailand, it's legal. Japan, it's not, but they do allow CBD. And in Taiwan, they don't allow anything. And then coming to a different country and getting the true experience, because you don't feel harassed, you don't feel like the law is going to come and get you, you're going to get arrested. You come to a state and you learn about cannabis that's legal, or a country that's legal, and you feel more comfortable, and you experiment and you get better and you learn more and you realize how good it is for your body. So good for her. Ireland's first cannabis treatment tracking app is now here. Finland bans HHC, but it's also, I'll talk about it in a second, and Sweden to follow. Israel's medical cannabis industry stalls. Cannabis advocates hold a big march in Taiwan, so to get cannabis legal, THC. So we'll see what happens there. Now, Finnish Parliament, after 420's peak, MPs approved cannabis could become legal, regulated, and taxed in Finland. And Citizens Initiative aiming to legalize cannabis will go to Parliament for consideration after it passed the 50,000 signature mark on World Weed Day 420. So good for them. That's awesome. So we talked about this family a couple episodes ago, a family that was arrested for cannabis and had their 5 children taken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we did.
So we got some good news.
Yeah. So a black family in Tennessee was reunited following their cannabis arrest. 5 children got to return home from DCS custody. Tennessee patrol officers pulled over a black family in Coffee County, Tennessee in February because of tinted car windows. After conducting a vehicle search, the officers found 5 grams of cannabis. Bianca Claiborne and Deontay Williams and their 5 children their 5 children were subsequently placed in the custody of the Department of Children's Services. And Williams was arrested for cannabis possession, considered a misdemeanor in the volunteer state. After nearly 2 months, these poor kids were taken away from their family. The children were because he had, what did he have? 5 grams of cannabis. So let's disrupt this whole family. Okay. After nearly 2 months, the children were returned to their home, because that's not tragic, right? And that was reported by Tennessee Lookout, and the attorney was Courtney Teasley. The family is planning a celebration in their hometown, Teasley said. We will follow up with a press conference and celebration in Nashville in about a week or so, after the family has gotten time to enjoy their time together and reclaim so much unnecessary lost time. So what exactly happened here? Well, in addition to having tinted windows, car windows in Tennessee must allow more than 35% of light in. The Tennessee Highway Patrol says Claiborne and Williams were also driving in the left lane, and it's a passing lane. Okay, that sounds like predatory pullover there. The Georgia-based family was traveling to a family funeral in Chicago, while Claiborne has been cited and released with her 5 children, who are ages 7, 5, 3, 2, and 4 months. The DCS appeared 6 hours later. Urine drug screens showed Williams had tested positive for THC, while Claiborne tested negative. Following the juvenile court hearing in March, the DCS then took the children into custody. How traumatic. It just seems so traumatic.
So traumatic.
So traumatic. So is this a case of racism? Theda Murphy, executive director of the No Exceptions Prisoner Collect. Okay, I'm really high. Is this a case of racism? I'm going to start this over. Theda Murphy, executive director of the No Exceptions Prison Collective and one of many family supporters, blasted the state of Tennessee, saying it has no love for black children. I'm here to tell you that this is 2023, not 1823, Murphy said. We are going to fight for our children, and we are going to win. The DCS maintains that many of the agency's frontline workers are from black communities. The case managers that are working on this case, they come from diverse backgrounds. Alex Dennis, a spokesperson for the agency, said a month ago. In Tennessee, both medical and recreational use of marijuana is still considered illegal.
Crazy.
A push to legalize medical marijuana statewide died in the Senate Judiciary Committee last month. So, these poor kids, the whole family's life got disrupted over 5 grams of weed and driving in the left lane, because that never happens, right? Nobody drives in the left lane. Better pull them over. Ugh, crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So
glad.
thankfully they're all together.
Yeah.
They're reunited, and hopefully this can, in a short period of time, be behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Tennessee, that ain't right.
Relax.
I know.
Relax.
I got my next
They need some weed.
Yeah, I got my next presidential candidate. I'm so stoked that he's running.
Who?
Afroman officially enters 2024 presidential race. Vote for Afroman.
You know who just got to meet Afroman?
Who?
Ann Alchin.
Oh, damn.
Yes. So we had author Ann Alchin on our show, last month, and with her cookbook. And she was out doing, I think, some sort of event around her book, and she met him.
Nice.
Like, oh, very cool.
Good for her.
I know.
I want to just vote for him. I'll be excited. He's running. Let's see if he makes it all the way through. Cannabis commander in chief, pothead of state, it says here.
Pothead of state. It's pretty good.
But he actually had a nice thing he put on Instagram about, inflation is out of control, the economy is in shambles, housing market is staggering, politicians are corrupt, bad apples are allowed to remain in law enforcement amongst our noble and brave officers. Medicinal plants are criminalized while pharmaceutical companies enrich themselves on chemicals with unknown side effects. The media sows the seeds of hatred 24 hours a day, 7 days per week, 365 days per year. The attempt to divide based on race, religion, gender, sexual preference, and every other category that they can think of. We need a candidate that could truly elected by the people and for the people. We need a man that can step up and lead with a firm hand. The people are starved for the commander-in-chief that leads from a place of love, not hate. In these dark times, we need a leader that truly embodies the American dream. My candidate is the American dream. Who better to lead the criminal justice reform? The man who has traveled through the complete metamorphosis of the justice system. A man who entered juvenile hall as a tadpole and hopped out of prison as a bullfrog and is still the American dream. The most rejected, disrespected. He went on for a job he has never selected and still the American dream. The acceptable reject. The original hungry hustler, a representative of the blue state of California and the red state of Mississippi, our cannabis commander-in-chief, our pothead of state, who better to hold the highest office in the land and the highest and flyest play in the game. He is for the black man, Mexican, even poor white, all humans being that have no rights. So put down your past and pick up your future. It is my immense honor and pleasure to formally announce Afroman as the independent candidate for the President of the United States.
Go Afroman.
He's got my vote, and I like his setup. He's wearing a nice fucking outfit he's got on. It's great. He's got my vote. You believe me, if he makes it all the way to the end, if he can make it through the primaries and run as an independent, I'm voting for him. Just run as an independent, Afroman. Watch the world change. All right, this story. I didn't know if I was going to talk about it or not because it's just could be just another group trying to say they created the 420. They created 420. The crazy thing about it, they're from the same high school, went to this high school at the same time as the Waldos. They call themselves the Beebs. Both claim to have started the meme, and each group calls bullshit on the other. In the corner, you have the Waldos, a group of former San Rafael High School students who claim they invented the phrase in 1971 when they met at 4:20 p.m. to search for the hidden cannabis garden. They have a website you can go on and basically look at all of their like history of it all. So in the other corner, you have the Beebs, a group of classmates who went to the school with the Waldos and claim that they are the ringleader. Brad Bann first used the phrase while smoking from a homemade bamboo bong in 1970. So Bann was smoking pot with his friend Dan Dixon's house on a Saturday afternoon when, according to Bann, Dixon asked him what time it was. Bann looked at the clock and said it was 4:20 p.m., adding, "We should load some bong loads." I don't know. This is the article. I don't know if this can ever actually be resolved. Waldo's friend Craig Saunders said, I just hope that all these people who were always hanging out and being friends don't try to separate. We were all there when it happened, and who knows for sure who exactly invented it. But it did happen in San Rafael High School around 71 and 72. So the one guy, though, said he started it in 1970. But this one guy said 71, 72, and that's when the Waldos claimed they started in 1971 when they looked for the big everlasting gobstopper pot field on the map that was given to them. So I have seen many interviews with the Waldos. I've read their website. I worked for a brewery that became friends with them and talked to one of the people that got to interview the Waldos and help create the beer. And I will say I believe their story. I've read their website. I talk about them since 2013. So who knows? Who cares? It's 420 regardless for the rest. It's just a story. So, and I love a good story. So Waldo's forever. 420 it is. Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
You got anything else to say?
Let's smoke.
We're gonna smoke and eat an edible. You got that right. So, hey, everybody out there in the world, we love you. We thank you for listening. Thanks to everybody just for all the kind words all the time. We appreciate you out there. And don't forget to check out 8decades.com. 1 year anniversary. Congratulations, Mrs. Weedman.
Thank you.
Killer job on that. Everything.
We're trying.
Yep, we're trying. So happy anniversary to us. And we love you all out there. As Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puffing away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.